and welcome back to a Methods of the Madness Breaking Bad edition. I'm your host Patrick. Joining me is Mitchie.
Hello, Pat.
Hello, Mitchie. And today we're talking about Breaking Bad Season 3, Episode 9, Kafkaesque. This episode sees Jesse go on his little rehab discussion group and Hank dealing with possibility of not walking again.
Yeah.
Alright, let's go through a plot summary.
Sure. Walt and Jesse are now in full production in the new lab and are easily producing the 200 pounds of meth each week, as per their quota. Jesse finds that they're even overproducing and is resentful when Walt refuses to allow him to remove the extra pounds from the shipment, particularly since he has calculated that Gus will net at least $96 million by the end of their 3-month contract, while the two of them are receiving only a combined payment of $3 million, despite doing all of the work. Walt, however, is unconcerned by this and simply brushes off Jesse's complaints as him being unappreciative. Hank is still recovering in the hospital, and Steve Gomez shows up to tell him that the blue meth has made a comeback in several states, thus confirming Hank's suspicions that Heisenberg has not yet been captured. Hank is nevertheless dissatisfied and reveals that the only reason he's still alive is because he got a warning call a minute before his would-be assassins attacked him. Instantly suspicious of Walt, Skylar asks him if they and he are safe. Walt assures her that they are. Alright. What's going on with fucking... Oh, wait. Can we talk about the intro in this episode?
What?
I thought it was pretty good.
What's the intro?
Like the fucking Los Polios Hermanos ad.
Right.
And then the shipments of blue meth. It was just... It's one of my favorite intros, I reckon, from the whole series. It's just good.
Really show it. I think this is like kind of the first time you actually see the scale of Fring's operation as well.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking, isn't it like a bit... Seems dodgy, though, putting it in, like, his own product. Like, what if someone found it, then they instantly link it back to him?
Yeah, that's true, but, like, how else are you going to distribute it?
Yeah, true. I guess you're using your legit business to distribute the meth, right? So, kind of makes sense, yeah.
And, like, it seems pretty careful, too, because, like, didn't he only put it in one
Certain
batch?
ones. Yeah. Yeah. And then they, like, UV light it.
Right.
Put the text marker on it. Yeah.
So, yeah, it'd have to be some, wild bad luck for them to be caught. So, yeah, Jesse's unsatisfied with the amount of money he's making, the 1.5 million compared to Gus's 96, and then Walt tries to tell him that they're still making bank, and this is really interesting because this is quite literally the opposite dynamic we see in the later seasons, where Walt is...
Or even in the earlier seasons.
Well, yeah, true. Where Walt is really greedy, and then Jesse is the one who's kind of, isn't really too fussed about the money.
Yeah.
And
why is that?
Why is Jesse not too fussed about the money in early seasons?
No. Why is he so fucking, like, greedy now?
Yeah, well, because in these last couple episodes, he's been trying to lean more into this role as the bad guy. We see him at the, whatever it is, the meeting... the rehab meeting, and he's there. He's recruiting Badger and Skinny Pete to sell meth to those people. Like, I don't know. He's just trying to do bad things now because that's what he thinks he should do.
Right, but does earning money have anything to do with that? Like,
well, it's like greed is like a bad intention, right? So he thinks he should be greedy because that's what bad people are.
Right, but I think he's kind of like overlooking how much it would cost to run this. I mean, sure, Gus's business, his meth business, is making $96 million, but there's a lot of costs to kind of, cover, right? A lot of overhead and all the people that are in on it. I mean, presumably they get a decent amount of money to shut the fuck up. So, I mean, it's probably not too unreasonable, really. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was thinking the same thing, like, yeah. And then... So, the title of this episode, Kafkaesque, is brought up in Jesse's meeting. And so, do you know what this is? What this means?
Something to do with purgatory?
No, not really. Like,
Isn't it like some miserable fucking world that Kafka made or some shit?
So, yeah, Franz Kafka was like a novelist in, I think it was the 20th century. Yeah. I pulled up a definition of Kafkaesque. It says, relating to... or the characteristic of or resembling the literary work of Franz Kafka, marked by senseless, disorienting, and often menacing complexity. So here's another definition. The term Kafkaesque is used to describe concepts and situations reminiscent of Kafka's work, Examples include instances in which bureaucracies overpower people, often in a surreal, nightmarish milieu that evokes feelings of senselessness, disorientation, and helplessness.
Yeah, purgatory.
Well, I think it's purgatory in the sense that, like, so the way I take it is, like, it's this kind of Lovecraftian type of oppression where, like, you know, like, I think the bit about bureaucracy overpowering people is really apt because, like, it's just like, as Jesse says, there's so much red tape, no one tells me anything.
Yeah.
The oppression comes from just, the sheer, like, complexity of, like, the system that's controlling you or that you're in.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So, no, it's kind of 1984, but, like, kind of a bit different. And, yeah, I don't know, I think this is kind of like a through line throughout the episode.
Yeah, definitely.
Alright, let's move on.
Alright. Though Hank is now conscious and functioning, his legs are mostly paralyzed and the prognosis is that he may not be able to walk again, even with months of physical therapy. His doctor tells Maria that the therapy he needs is unlikely to fall within their insurance plan, and they would most likely end up having to pay out of pocket, which could end up costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars. Walt meets with Gus at his distribution center to clear the air. Hank's revelation that he received a phone call before the attack has led Walt to the conclusion that Gus was the one who diverted the cartel assassins away from him. Despite having put Hank's life in jeopardy, Walt nevertheless expresses gratitude towards Gus for saving his own life and commends him for his strategy, saying that he'd have done the same if he was in Gus's position. He also brings up the issue of not knowing what will happen when this 3-month contract has expired. Gus promises him security for his family, and also brings up the possibility of extending their contract to a year, which would increase his earnings to $50 million. Walt considers it. One thing I like about this is, finally, like, I mean, we always talk about how Hank and Walt are parallels to each other, and it's even coming down to, like, the hospitalization and the fees they have to pay. And I think there's always been this assumption that Hank and Maria are quite wealthy, or at least wealthier than the Whites. And that's evidenced by the fact that Hank offers to pay for the part of their treatment back in the first season, and now that Hank's in the same situation where he needs to kind of pay for some sort of surgery or treatment or whatever it is to get him better again, and it turns out that the insurance plan doesn't cover it, they're in they're in the same situation that the Whites were, and it kind of really shows you that even the wealthier, well, not the wealthy, it's not like, I'm not saying that they're millionaires or anything, but I'm saying that even though they live decently and have presumably a pretty good income, they even kind of can't escape the tyranny of the American medical system.
Yeah, exactly. It's just more condemnation of the American healthcare system.
And,
and there's that, I'm assuming she's some sort of, like, lawyer or, the representative of the insurance company. She's like, I've seen families go bankrupt from the insurance not paying them back.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, like, what a predicament to be in. Just, like, healthcare is just, like, this enormously expensive thing.
Yeah.
And you pretty much just, like, if you have any savings, if you wanted to do anything sort of, like, with that money, something exciting like go on holiday, then you just fucking can't for probably, like, the rest of your life now, because it just costs so much.
Land of the free, bro. Honestly, it's such a
just
joke.
Become rich.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. You'd think, like a developed country like that would just have medical shit sorted, but they obviously don't. It's kind of stupid.
Yeah, it's the elites, man.
Yeah.
They want to keep the poor people down.
Yeah. And the meeting between Walt and Gus, man, Walt is pretty fucking savvy for, like, pretty much nailing exactly what Gus Fring's plan was.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly...
Like, it's almost non-belief... Like, it's almost like you can't even believe it, really. But, like...
Yeah.
It is what it is. It's how the people wrote this story. But, yeah, I mean, it really shows you that Walt is a clever guy.
And, like, I don't know. From Gus's reaction, you kind of see that, like, he hasn't met someone as formidable as Walter before, like, as smart as Walter.
Yeah, I think he was pretty surprised too, wasn't he?
Right, let's move on.
Alright, Saul encourages Jesse to purchase a nail salon with which he can use to launder the money he makes from the meth business. Jesse flatly refuses, especially since doing so would require him to pay his taxes. Tired of having to adhere to the quotas and responsibilities within his new job and wanting a larger cut of the profits, Jesse decides to steal the leftover pounds of meth that he and Walt produced in the lab to sell separately to the members of his rehab support group. He enlists Badger and Skinny Pete in his endeavor, and during a meeting they pose as 2 new members and initiate a conversation within the group where they mention the blue meth, piquing everyone's interest in it. Marie becomes increasingly frustrated about being unable to find a means to pay for Hank's physical therapy, as the insurance will not cover the therapists. Skylar finally offers to pay their bills directly using Walt's drug money. She fabricates a story of Walt being a compulsive blackjack gambler, saying that this has been the cause of their recent marital problems. She explains that Walt took to gambling to pay his medical bills after his cancer diagnosis, and after some losses, his winnings have netted him an amount with 7 figures. Marie is left shocked and appalled, but agrees to take their money to pay for Hank's therapy. Walt expresses surprise in Skylar's ability to come up with such an elaborate story on the fly. Skylar tells Walt that she believes he is somehow responsible for the attack on Hank, and that she is not forgetting that.
Okay, so, again, Jesse, for some reason, feeling like he should be leaning more into the bad guy role. He doesn't want to pay tax.
Yeah.
And, Saul is trying to tell him, as he rightly should, you have to launder your money, man. You can't spend it otherwise, and then Jesse just won't listen.
Yeah, I love Saul's explanation of everything.
Yeah. Hey, this is you, Pinkman, get it?
Yeah.
And then, so Jesse's at that meeting again, and he's, that dude gives Jesse a hypothetical. It's like, say you had all the money you want in the world, what would you do? And then he goes, I'd make something, he talks about woodworking.
Yeah.
And, more to bring it back to this motif of the Kafkaesque. There's a few things. One, everyone there is dealing with drug addiction. Jesse is as well. Drug addiction is this complicated but also very vague thing. I don't know, addiction in terms of neuroscience and psychology is all very. There's a lot of speculation on it and a lot of research, but it's still a very hard thing to pinpoint.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. And then woodworking is it's considered a simple sort of craft, right? Not to suggest that it's easy or that it can't be complex or complicated, but traditionally it's the kind of thing that's seen as a placid thing to do, right? You know what I mean? Yeah, get back to your roots and make something out of wood,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's anti-Kafkaesque, if anything.
Right, okay.
Yeah, anyway, that's my connection to that.
So he's trying to oppose the Kafkaesqueness of his work.
Right, yeah.
By saying he's building something.
He just wants to go back to the simple life, that's what he truly wants, is to just make something with wood. Is what his ideal situation would be.
Yeah, well, isn't there later on? I think there's a dream sequence, right, where he kind of builds this box.
Well, it's a flashback.
Oh, is it a flashback?
Because he built it in high school.
Right. Okay. But the way I think the way the scene's portrayed is it makes it seem like it's very idyllic or something.
Right.
But anyway, it's I guess that's what he wants to do, but he's just too far gone now that he can't do that. And that's what I mean, right? He's kind of trapped in this situation where he needs money, right? And that's why he's breaking the law by cooking meth, because he needs money. And when a guy proposes, well, what if you had all the money in the world and that's what you'd want to do? Then it's something completely different, because I'm pretty sure that you ask anyone that question, and if everyone had all the money they wanted in the world and they could just choose to do whatever they wanted, it would be completely different to what they're actually doing right now, because we're all just trapped in this world where we just have to make money, right, and survive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's just an interesting kind of scene, really, because I think we can all relate to that in some kind of way.
Yeah. And then he says he traded it for an ounce of weed, which is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a few $100 at least,
I was thinking that too. That's a lot of fucking ganja.
He lies about giving it to his mom, and then he's like, I traded it for an ounce of weed, as if it's meant to be some sort of a failure of his resolve. But really, he just got a really good deal.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm half joking when I say that, of course.
Yeah,
but, you know what I mean. Yeah.
yeah. The monetary value of that is probably worth more than buying a custom-made box at a nice fair or market.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you're right. They should have said a Q or some shit,
some meager amount.
A tenth of weed.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then moving on to this gambling story that Skylar cooks up. Like, this fits so well with every other circumstance that appears to be going on with Walt and Skylar's marriage.
Yeah.
Like, it just explains so much shit so well. And, you know, it's kind of like, it's not so far from the truth, you know what I mean? And that's why it fits so well.
Yeah, in terms of there's money being made illegally, but the way that money's being made is completely different.
Yeah.
Gambling doesn't really ruin many people's lives, but cooking meth does.
Yeah, I suppose you're right, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, this is an important scene because it actually is finally the point where Skylar is breaking the law. Like, finally, like, within a court of law now, she is deemed just as guilty as Walt now because she's fully lying to other people and creating a backstory to support his meth cooking. You know, up to this point, she's kind of on the fence about it. You know, it could have gone either way, and she probably could have gone to court and, you know, appealed about it and then not being arrested, not being tried guilty. But now it's too late. You know, she's gone in deep, and there's no coming out now for her.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation because, you know, you want to support Hank.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's about all I had.
Yeah, me too.
All right, sweet. Thank you for listening, and join us next episode.
So when I showed it to Mr. Pike for my grade, he looked at it and said, "Is that the best you can do?" At first, I thought to myself, hell yeah, bitch. Now give me a D and shut up so I can go blaze one with my boys. I don't know. Maybe it was the way he said it, but it was like he wasn't exactly saying it sucked. He was just asking me honestly, is that all you got? And for some reason, I thought to myself, yeah, man, I can do better.
If you like this series, Mitch is going to tell you where you can find more of these.
Yep, so you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. And we've also got a website, amttm.com, where you can find our fabulous episodes on Breaking Bad.
If you have any questions, queries, insights, or criticism, you can send them to mail@amttm.com.
And as always, thank you for listening.